Welcome to Throwing Shade and Clay.
We're your hosts, Karen and Louise, slinging history, politics, and paint in equal measure.
Each episode, we take one fascinating moment from history
and see how it still shapes the world we're living in today.
While we're at it, we'll be painting pottery inspired by the theme, because nothing says political discourse like a perfectly glazed mug.
So grab your brushes, your hot takes, and your sense of humor, and let's throw some shade and some clay.
This episode may include adult language and disturbing themes like war, political liaisons, and the cluster we call the American government. Please exercise caution when listening with children under 13. Hi guys, we're back for episode 2.
We are, after our incredible launch. I can't get over how excited your friends are to listen to us complain.
I'm humbled and grateful, and I have to give a specific shout out to my friend Katie, because she's been definitely leading the charge with trying to get as many people as possible to listen to us. Katie, as one of my best friends since we were 6 years old, I just want to say thank you very much, and I love you, and keep being my free advertiser. Thank you.
I love it. She is a really good cheerleader, and it's amazing just to see all the comments coming in about how fun we are, because we are fun.
We are fun.
We knew that.
We knew that, but it's nice to get that validation from other people.
Super true.
And so I've always said that I was funny, but it's nice to get that kind of feedback that other people are funny. So today we are going to be talking about Aaron Burr, sir. But we're not going to cover the stuff you already know from the musical Hamilton. Maybe touch on it just a little bit to make sure we understand the timeline. However, we are going to be talking about how Aaron Burr decided he wanted to be king of his own territory, which I think most of us did not know.
I definitely knew it, because as soon as Hamilton became part of my personal zeitgeist, I went and read everything. So I read the Ron Chernow biography, and then I was like, but this Burr guy is a freaking creep. And so I had to figure it all out. He really is. He's really the worst. And it's funny because there's a lot of founding fathers that kind of get swept under the rug, and that's why Lin-Manuel Miranda highlighted Hamilton, because he was like, wow, look at this guy, like, and what he did. But at the end of the day, they were all flawed humans, and we forget that. Number one. Number two, we don't really delve into the whys and hows. We kind of just know the highlights.
Right.
Which is exactly where I found myself doing this research. I was like, wow, I did not know all of this stuff. I knew that he made a bid for a monarchy, and I knew that he went, and we'll talk about where he went and what he tried to do, but I didn't know the political climate and how everyone else felt and how disjointed the United States were at the time. And so we'll get into a lot of that today. I flipped the script on Karen and just completely changed our project the second that she walked in the door.
Fine.
Initially,
I don't know how to go with the flow.
Initially, we were going to paint a piece by Burr Ceramics. It's their USA map platter. And we were just both going to riff on like what the USA looks like and what it means to us. And the second I walked in the door, I remembered I had thrown these huge 4-pound bowls the other day. And I was like, we could just desecrate these bowls and just take chunks out of them until they're barely a bowl. And that would make me feel the same way that I feel about the Constitution right now.
Pretty much.
That's what we're going to do. But if you're interested in that USA map, a lot of studios carry it, and you can always find a studio near you at paintyourownpottery.com. So that is a fun way to get in on the vibes with us. But if you want to do this exact project, which I absolutely think you should, you're going to get yourself 3 to 4 pounds of clay, throw a giant bowl, let it sit for a day and a half and kind of dry out a little bit. This is less than leather hard, so it's a little bit squishier. And we're just going to take our trimming tools and trim chunks out of it, and then paint it with stoneware glazes. And we'll list those stoneware glazes after we've painted it and put them in comments and all that other stuff. As far as last week's project goes, the project guide is up on our blog, but the picture of mine is not done because I took a couple days off this week, and I know it felt really good. I sat at home Wednesday and kind of couch rotted, and then Thursday, I don't remember what I did, and then Friday was Halloween, so Thursday I drove back and forth up and down our main road going to and from the dentist with one of my kids. So that was my Thursday. And then Friday was Halloween, so we had like a lot of fun festivities going on, and we went to a trunk or treat with my husband. Did you do anything fun for Halloween? Did you dress the dogs up?
No.
Oh,
We did go to the Halloween festival last weekend with the
that's
dogs.
right. I
That's
loved
the
those pictures.
First time I've ever been. It was crazy. I had no idea. Like, I knew it was a big thing. They've been doing it. This was the 79th year, I think.
Wow.
They have been doing it for a long time. Irvington is a very tight-knit, very cool historic community. I could probably talk about them for an entire episode separately, so I won't get into it. But it's always been a big deal. I've always wanted to go, but I've always had conflicts. So I was finally able to go. I dragged husband along, and he was overwhelmed by the people, but the dogs actually loved it. So Rue was on her leash and got all kinds of attention. For those of you that know me, know my little Chihuahua Whippet mix Thor gets very overwhelmed by everything. So he was in his little puppy Bjorn backpack thing and also got lots of attention. But I do also want to say everybody was very respectful about asking for both of them, like, hey, can I pet your dog? Which is really great because Thor is generally not reactive. He's very meek, but every once in a while, if he's too overwhelmed or somebody just, especially kids, just, stick their hand in his face, he gets a little growly. I don't think he's ever actually nipped anybody, but it is something I'm very aware of, which is another reason why I carried him instead of just letting him be on his own, walking on a leash.
Okay.
Just because of the politics.
Start over.
Yeah.
So you were at a trunk or treat last weekend.
So I attended a trunk or treat last weekend at Forest Park, and I was handing out candy, and it was also insane. There were so many kids. We had so many bags of candy, and we're like, "Oh, it'll be fine. We'll have plenty." Definitely ran out with like 45 minutes left in the event. So I did feel bad, but at the same time, oh my gosh, like what an amazing community event that so many people came out to celebrate. There was a kids zone and all kinds of fun stuff. So for actual Halloween, we just went down to my neighbors and they make chili every year and we handed out candy and just kind of took it easy. So
I was very excited to hear you say that you handed out chili, but that's not the case. You gave them candy and you ate the chili.
that's the adults ate the chili. For neighbors that we know, they were invited to also eat chili. But no, we did not hand out ladles of chili and just stick it in the trick or treat bags of the children. As funny as that would be for us, pretty sure my neighbor's house would have been egged by the end of the night.
What do you put on your chili? What kind of a chili eater are you?
So I have never, honestly, I know, unpopular opinion, have never been a huge chili person, but I grew up, we had noodles and chili, and I guess that's like a really like Midwest thing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the Skyline thing. The Cincinnati chili with the.
So, full disclosure, I did not make any of the chili. I contributed nothing to my friends, to my neighbors.
Just enjoyed.
I just showed up and enjoyed. But my lovely neighbor, who first of all is amazing at anything he puts on the grill, but he made two different kinds, keeping those of us in mind that don't love spicy stuff.
Aww.
And his quote unquote mild chili, not that mild. So I definitely doctored it with some sharp cheddar cheese and some sour cream. Yes, I know that's weird for some people, but
oh, I'm a sour cream and cheese girl. Yeah. I asked because I'm not from the Midwest, so there are some Midwest traditions that I do not understand. So the pasta thing is kind of understandable. Like I get a chili mac, I get the spaghetti Skyline chili thing. The cinnamon addition that some people do, I don't get, and I think that's also a Cincinnati chili thing. And then cinnamon rolls in chili is a new thing I heard of. I think that's a Minnesota thing. I have not researched any of this, so do not take this as historical fact. I'm not sure where.
I've always been a proponent, even if you like two things, it doesn't mean they go together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one that some friends of mine several years ago introduced my husband and I to was peanut butter.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say.
And
not your thing. I can tell by your face.
I tried it. I didn't hate it, but I definitely didn't love it. So
I will not be trying it. I am a big fan of not trying stuff that already sounds awful. One of those things. All right, well, let's get into our topic today. So you let us know. We're going to be talking about Aaron Burr and his bullshit. One of our critiques this week was that we curse too much, and I listened back, and it was such a non-issue to me that I didn't think we did.
So
But my husband did let me know that I curse too much. So I'm already sorry, Adam. It's who I am and you know this. So I think what was surprising to him was hearing it through his car speakers because of course he listened the first day it was out and he was like, wow, that was a lot of cursing, lovely wife of mine.
So I have two comments here. One is that Louise texted me this and I called Adam a name. And I do want to say it was a joke. And Adam, if you're still mad at me, I'm sorry.
Never mad. He laughed.
Okay.
He laughed.
Because guys, Adam is seriously like the sweetest guy. And sometimes I think, especially with Louise and I together, we probably terrify him. So Adam, you're amazing. And second, I just want to say what a good husband, because our first episode at the time of this recording has been out for what?
3 days.
3 days?
Yeah.
Has my husband listened to it yet?
Don't tell me that.
He
Don't
said
do that.
he promises
Don't do
that he will, but
Don't
I
do
gave him an
that.
earful yesterday. I was like, Adam listened to it right away and you haven't even started it yet.
He listened to it. I had put it up on YouTube and I think he listened the first 20 minutes on YouTube and then it got boosted by Spotify. And so then he listened on Spotify as well. Yeah.
Yep. So
he's
Clay
a good
swears
man.
he'll be downloading one of the, he's in all fairness, he's not a podcast person.
Yeah.
He's never listened to podcasts. So it is new content for him just in general. So I will give him a little bit of a pass, but if we get to like the 1 week point and he hasn't done it yet,
he's getting a handwritten notarized
look
note
out.
that he needs.
Yes. So marriage counseling might be on the way. Anyway,
Ralph, you went straight in. I like that.
back to the topic at hand.
Back to the topic at hand and the project at hand. I think I've got a feel for what I'm going to do. I'm going to do like some ocean waves here into like amber waves of grain kind of thing.
Ooh, fun. Okay.
Into like some mountains up here so that when I flip it over, it's water, amber,
Got it.
sky.
Yeah,
and
love
maybe
it.
that'll be my feeling here just to capture all of America.
I literally have no plan.
That's
So
fine.
I'm going
Don't.
to be doing
Yeah,
this just
vibes.
completely on the fly. And if you hate it,
No one cares.
Sorry.
No one cares. But again, yeah, this is our reclaimed clay and I threw these and they're very wet. So we're going to have some fun today.
I also want to point out how when Louise is explaining like the project, she's like, so you can just throw this bowl and then you do it. And if anyone has ever tried to throw pottery and hasn't like done it, you know, as part of their life and regular lessons, it's not that easy. So let me just tell you, if you do try this on your own and you are not an amazing artist already, don't be upset with yourself.
No.
Because I can't throw for shit. So Louise threw both of these bowls. Anyway, please continue.
All right. Let's get right into it. So Aaron Burr made a bid to try and be a king in America, which we don't appreciate now, but back in 1790, 1800, we were just coming off of the monarchy shit and we didn't really know where we were headed. So let's do a little bit of background. Aaron Burr's bid to establish a monarchy was in where Louisiana and Spanish Mexico were that area. If we care about Aaron Burr's past, which I was very much debating, did we care? But I think we should establish that he starts out really strong and then fucks it all up. So he was orphaned at 2 years old. He goes to Princeton, decides not to be a preacher when the revolution breaks out, and ends up in Maine, trying to take over Quebec with General Montgomery, which we did here in Hamilton. That's pretty much the only reference I'm going to try and make today.
Don't worry, friends, I'll talk about it later.
This is his most truly heroic act. General Montgomery gets gunned down in a battle outside of Quebec, and Burr rushes in to try and rescue his body in order to give him a burial. He has to pull back out when it gets too dangerous, and then he does retrieve the body, but cannot pull it himself through the mounting snow. So it is the one last time where we see him be a good guy. The rest of his life is just downhill from here, in my opinion, but we can debate that later. He then gets placed under Washington, who immediately dislikes him and calls him a pompous young man, relegates him to menial duties. And he gets mad about this. Burr is mad that he's like being relegated because he's smart or whatever, but he hasn't yet finished his Princeton degree. So I'm not sure, like it's misplaced bravado and intelligence at that point.
He graduated from Princeton at 16. Did he just attend Princeton at 16?
From what I read, he doesn't graduate until he gets back. But you know what? Look, do we really care?
No,
we don't really
no,
care. All right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You might be right. So we'll get into, we can, like I said, we can debate his attributes later. So he does end up rescuing artillery after the Battle of Long Island under General Putnam, and he ends up at Valley Forge, the Battle of Monmouth. And Hamilton told us all this. So we like kind of have that vibe that yes, he was in the war, and yes, he did some good in the Revolutionary War. Ever the opportunist, Burr primarily saw politics as a tool to win money and influence for himself and his friends, once describing politics as nothing more than fun and honor and profit. It really it gave me Stanley family vibes from the 14 to 1500s. The Stanley family's motto was sans changier, or unchanging, which is a fucking joke because they backed the highest horse, not the same horse. But we don't really have time to get into 1400s politics. I just like to point out that humans never change. So what does America look like at this time? It's the early 1800s. We're at the end of the Revolutionary War now. He's come through the war. He's still alive. Congrats or whatever. This place is made up of 13 colonies, which we all know, but I don't think all of us, I mean, I definitely didn't realize that what the territory is comprised of. So the 13 colonies go as far west as the Mississippi River. And we know that this land was claimed by the British, but occupied by Native Americans. So calling it American land is pretty questionable at this point, but for the sake of argument, that's what we're going with. Florida currently in this climate belongs to Spain, and the lands west of the Mississippi were split between French and Spanish occupation. And then Alaska, of course, belongs to Russia at this point, which I found fascinating and kind of also forgot about. Mm-hmm. America is brand new, and they're already in an overseas war in 1801, the Barbary War in Libya. Had you ever heard of this war before you read my notes?
Absolutely not.
Me either. I really don't understand. All of my American history was focused on the Civil War.
Right.
And then trains and oil companies of the 1920s. So I missed all of this. So we're in an overseas war with Libya in regards to they're wanting the Ottoman Empire to stop raiding our ships. Apparently the Ottoman Empire was like, make us. And so we tried. We fought them across the seas to try and get them to stop raiding our ships.
Can I just say, it is interesting when you're trying to think about these timelines, especially because you don't necessarily, at least I don't remember in school, actually like, okay, this is what's going on in America. Here's what's happening at the same time around the rest of the world. So hearing about the Ottoman Empire at the same time as like right after
the beginning of America.
Yeah, it's like, wait, in my head, like
the Ottoman Empire was the 1100s.
Yeah, right. And then that's when you start getting into the rabbit hole of, well, yeah, because America is extremely young, like not just at this point, but even now, compared to some of these other things, and other like empires and dynasties last centuries or even millennia in some cases. And it's another one of those like rabbit hole ideas where you're just like, wow, I know absolutely nothing. About anything. So anyway, I
always feel that way when we talk about in ancient Egypt, there were Egyptians studying ancient Egypt.
Right.
That's what gets me. And like there were, anyways. Okay. Yes. We don't have time for that.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. There's a lot of points in this research where I was like, we don't have time for that. Let's keep going.
Yeah, like guys, she actually wrote it down. I'm going to make this point, but we don't have time to expand on it. So this podcast is going to be 4 hours long.
So in 1803, the Louisiana Purchase is complete by Thomas Jefferson. He spent $15 million and got 828,000 square miles, doubling the size of the territory of the American colonies, ranging from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. I do feel like that was a point that we learned in history class. The Louisiana Purchase was like a big deal in history class, but it's so conflicting now as an adult and with the movement of the Native Americans in the last, I'd say 20 years, to kind of like be re-recognized, to think that, yes, he bought this land from a foreign terror and it became quote unquote American property, but it was still
not the original person's property to sell.
Not their property to sell. Anyways, this is where Burr wants to stake his claim. He is pissed that he ends up as the vice president to Thomas Jefferson.
What a whiner.
And Jefferson is actually more mad about it. Jefferson echoes Hamilton's feelings about Burr, calling him the Callantine of America. In an 1800 letter, Hamilton says this: Burr is bankrupt beyond redemption, except by the plunder of his country. political principles have no other spring or aim than his own aggrandizement per fas net fas. If he can, he will certainly disturb our institutions to secure himself permanent power and with it wealth. He is truly the Palatine of America. And if I may credit Major Wilcox, he has held very vindictive language respecting his opponents.
Foreshadowing.
It's wild. First off, the balls of Hamilton to say this about a political rival at the time are incredible, but also he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. And we don't have time to delve into the Catalina complex. Was he a villain, a predator, or was he trying to affect change in an overreaching, overbloated government? I think I just added that to the bottom of our list. Another figure I added to the bottom of our list was Andrew Jackson, because if I hate one American president, it's probably Franklin Pierce #1 and then Andrew Jackson #2. Just hate.
I have to learn more about that at some point, because it's just,
presidents in history.
I mean, I have one in particular in mind, and it's.
I know, neither one of those.
Whatever.
So Burr's vice presidency leads to the 12th Amendment, before which voters cast their ballot for two candidates. The one with the most votes was president, and the second most was vice president. So in this particular run in 1800, they come out dead equal because Burr does actual campaigning, which had never been done before, and gets his name out there enough that they are split. And at that time, when there's a dead split, the Senate makes the vote. And of course, we learned from Hamilton that Hamilton speaks on behalf of Thomas Jefferson, wins him the vote, and then the runner-up becomes the vice president. And Thomas Jefferson was so mad about having to work with Burr after he openly campaigned against him that he proposed the 12th Amendment to the Constitution, which changed how we vote for president and vice president, which I think is really a unique take. Instead of saying we vote for each one, like you run as vice president, I thought that was really interesting. Like you run on a ticket together. So that was a really new thought. And we have a little bit of time for this one. So in 1789, the Constitution of the United States recognizes that states have the power to set voting requirements. A few states allowed free Black men to vote and women, and that was New Jersey, who allowed women who owned property to vote. But generally, states limited this right to property owning or tax-paying white males, about 6% of the population. I don't understand the picture of America where only 6% of the population own property and pay taxes, but that is where we were in 1789.
I mean,
in 1800, only 3 states, Kentucky, New Hampshire, and Vermont, had universal white male suffrage. So that means that any white male, not anybody, any white male, whether they own property or not, or tax paying, they can vote. And then they, of course, in the 1800s, they rolled back the ability for Black men and women to vote in New Jersey, but why not? Many Americans in the new territory openly discussed succession immediately after the Louisiana Purchase. So they're like, yeah, you bought us, but we don't necessarily want to be American. Interesting thought. Burr convinces Jefferson to install General James Wilkinson as the governor of northern Louisiana after serving as commander-in-chief of the new U.S. Army. This is his bestie at the time. Wilkinson is known to be unscrupulous and self-serving. Pretty much none of his contemporaries like him because he's a turd. Aaron Burr murders Alexander Hamilton in a duel July 11th, 1804. This squashes any further claims to grandeur in American Eastern politics, because as much cutthroat as they were, they didn't approve direct bloodshed. Dueling was still illegal, except for in New Jersey, but it is seen as just a barbaric act at this point. In 1804, Burr reaches out to the British minister, Anthony Merry, to gain British support, which he gives enthusiastically, surprisingly enough. April 1805, Burr is released from being VP. He goes on a Western campaign and starts gaining followers and stirring discontent all through the Louisiana Purchase. He gains support of many prominent Americans and the Mexico Society. The border disputes with Spain near Mexico heat up, and Burr banks on Jefferson sending a contingent to the border and invading Texas. Burr sends a coded letter to Wilkinson, later coined the cipher letter, enumerating this plot. So this becomes a huge turning point in this whole thing for Burr. He should have definitely never written it down. as we have learned in later politics, you just don't write it down. Don't write it down. They can't hold you in court for it. So in 1806, Burr gets called up on treason charges in Kentucky, and he gets out of them 3 different times. But the beginning of the end comes for him in December of 1806, when Wilkinson sends a letter to Jefferson outlining the plot, but not naming Burr. Of course, everybody knew who was doing the shit. In December of 1806, Ohio militiamen seized Burr's ships in Marietta, Ohio. So he'd been building this army in Marietta in Ohio and trying to drum up a lot of discontent and get a militia formed to then take over this plot of land. And he had formed a cache that got raided a couple days later. So his ships in Marietta are raided. His cache at, I'm gonna murder this title, Blennerhassett's Island in West Virginia.
I know I tried to sound that out too when I was reading it.
Estimated, and then later in December, he finally makes it to Blennerhassett Island, expecting a small army, and is greeted by 100 unarmed men. He takes his ragtag bunch down the Mississippi looking to gain followers and munition, but is greeted in New Orleans with a newspaper, including his fully decoded cipher letter and a warrant for his arrest. Wild. He's not indicted, but remanded to court and flees like a goddamn coward. He's captured finally February of 1807 and drugged to Richmond to stand trial. Theodosia is waiting for him in court and comforts him because they have a freaking weird father-daughter relationship. I don't know if you remember, he married Theodosia Alston, who was divorced. Did her husband die? I don't even remember. Marries Theodosia.
I'm going to get into a little bit of that
information
in my fun and interesting facts.
Yes. I'll back off then. Okay. Theodosia is currently the First Lady of South Carolina at this time. The Constitution saves his ass when John Marshall says, we can't try him for treason because this doesn't match what we've put in the Constitution as treason.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, the laws for treason are very specifically outlined because of England's overuse of the term treason and the punishment for it. So the Americans are really trying to redefine their lifestyle and say, not everything is treason. You're allowed to think and say things against the government as long as you don't build an army and have munitions, which, I mean, like, he did, but I guess they felt like he wasn't serious enough or something. I'm not really sure why he got let off the hook, but he gets let off the hook.
There's a lot of specific instances, even in more recent history, where things essentially come down to the definition of a given word.
Yes.
And so this is kind of the same situation where it's like, well, technically.
Yeah, I didn't inhale the weed, so
yeah,
I didn't inhale the treason, so it's not treason.
Depends on what your definition of is.
Burr is still just lost in public opinion. His effigy is burned across the U.S., but he doesn't give up. You know what? I wrote he doesn't give up. And the more I read this, he does give up. Like, he gives up in America. He flees to Europe.
He gives up on, like, I think up until this point, he's managed to convince himself, like, he's still the good guy.
Yes.
And I think this is where he gives up, like, I am done trying to do things the way that they're telling me I'm supposed to do them. And I'm just going to go full on douchebaggery at this point.
Yeah. So he flees to Europe and seeks French and British backing for his continued efforts. He finally does fucking give up in 1812. And this is when the War of 1812 breaks out. His daughter dies a year later. Like, shit's just crazy for him. So he goes to New York, finally passes the bar. This is where I found in my research that he passed the bar and sets up in New York. But I guess, no, I didn't. No, in 1806 he did. Anyways, not important. Okay. He's just living his life as a lawyer in upstate New York. Why did we choose this topic? Well, it's on the heels of another No King's Day, which is seen as a major success because, like, everyone across the universe joined us. So, like, the whole world has had No King's Day celebration.
Honestly, like, that alone gives me a little bit of hope, just because if I were outside of the US and looking in on the US, I would have been like, fuck those guys. They are on their own.
Yeah.
And even to an extent, you know, I feel a little bit that way being an American, because you're like, well, I mean,
nothing's going to change.
Right.
And
technically, like, even though I may have voted a certain way, enough people here feel differently and feel like the racism and homophobia and xenophobia and all the obias are okay. And so anyway, that's, again, I'm getting off on a tangent, but anyway, it gave me a little bit of hope thinking, okay, people out there understand that so many of us are not happy with the way things are going, and they're willing to stand up with us and say,
we agree.
We agree. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's great. And then this is why we have the Constitution. This really highlighted the effectiveness and the beauty and the thoughtfulness of the Constitution for me, was that we enacted an amendment right after Burr got elected as vice president. The president said, fuck no, this is stupid. Let's change something, and did. And it worked. It's worked for a long time to have the president and vice president run on a ticket together and be seen as a powerhouse rather than two opposing sides coming together in ineffective communication, ineffective teamwork.
I actually had some deep thoughts about this because at first, when I was thinking about how they used to do things and how it was just like, oh, you're number one, you're number two, so silver medal just automatically gets to be vice president. Part of me was like, well, maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, because then you don't have your, I know there wasn't a White House at this point, but you don't have your head of government all on the quote unquote same side, right?
Yeah.
So you have someone that's kind of built in to say, well, I'm not going to agree with you because we're in the same party. Like, I have some thoughts about this. Let's discuss it. But again, like true humans, that's not really, like, that may have been the intent, but that's not what happened. It just creates even more discord because everybody's like, kind of what we do now. Like, well, I don't agree with you because you're not on my side, even if you may have some valid points. So we're just going to fight about a lot of things and not actually accomplish anything.
And the interesting point is that even at this time, I mean, it's the beginning of America, they're already arguing that both sides are exactly the same and no one actually cares about the people. So it's fascinating to see. You're right. Human behavior just kind of is humans be humaning.
Humans be humaning. That we need to put that on a shirt.
Yeah. So the interesting question for me at this point was, what was the vice president's job and what is the position of vice president? We have famously heard, and I should Google this, there was a past vice president who said that the term of office was about as useful as a warm bucket of piss. So what is the VP's job? Now, the VP's job changes over time, but at this point in time, the VP's only job is to succeed the president. You can't do that if you're a coward and a monarchist.
Just saying.
Which really made me feel like Pence and Vance were behind the times. They were two birds in a pod. To the U.S. Constitution, and this is defining treason. So I feel like we went kind of backwards, but we're going to talk about treason. According to the U.S. Constitution, treason is specifically defined in Article 3, Section 3 as either levying war against the United States or adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. A conviction for treason requires the testimony of two witnesses in the same overt act, or a confession in open court, which makes it very difficult to prove. This led me back to current modern day politics. When we talk about aligning with our enemies, it has to be said that Russia has been our enemy for a long goddamn time. And I think our grandparents.
Do you think it's just because they're still mad that we have Alaska now?
They gave us Alaska. I think they didn't want to. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I think the Cold War,
Oh God, no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's fine. No.
Don't go down this rabbit hole.
No, look, there's several reasons why Russia is not our friend. But the outstanding reason is just the human rights violations that we allow to continue happening. And then we're going to work with these people who don't actually care for human life. It's just fascinating.
Got it. Okay.
So
sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. It's just something to think about. It's to think about, is our job to foster a relationship with people who are on the exact opposite side of what we hope to stand for.
Anyway,
why does Burr get excused? So maybe it's because he was ineffectual. He doesn't actually have any arms to show per se, but I think.
I'm sorry, one more tangent. When I read this, I just definitely was like, he doesn't have arms? When did he lose his arms? I'm so sorry. I don't know. I may or may not have been inebriated the first time I read it, but it just, for some reason, the way it was worded, I'm picturing this armless guy.
Yeah, he had arms. He had
I'm
working
sorry.
appendages all throughout his life.
This is why she does the important research and I do the
Color commentary. We'll talk about the Second Amendment, but we have to talk about the Second Amendment. The reason that the Second Amendment is number 2 in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and why we put it in there was for many different reasons. But one of them is that we should have a citizens' militia. The amendment was written at a time when armed citizens were expected to form well-regulated militias for state and national defense. And we see this come up later in the Civil War, but in the Revolutionary War, there was no agreement before we had the Constitution that we'd all fight on the same side. And there was no agreement that we would all fight for our country and for our state. Mm-hmm. So the idea that they put it in writing that we should be responsible and we should do this is fascinating to me. And that has over the years become the National Guard, right? So the National Guard now is developed in each state and answers to state issues first and federal issues second. Mm-hmm. But it's wild to me. It's just a very interesting look at what the framers thought was important and really what we should reconsider as important as citizens. I personally would like to live a life where we don't have to have munitions and where we don't have to defend ourselves from any kind of bad stuff, but that's utopic and that is
not real life.
Not real life. Yeah, unfortunately. So the second reason that we have the Second Amendment is for self-defense. So it was intended to allow citizens to defend themselves, their families, and their properties from threats. Before the Second Amendment, if you were a British citizen and you couldn't own a firearm, what defense did you have from anything, really, at that point? There was no
hot tea on them.
I mean, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So then, of course, both of those things combined to lead a deterrence to tyranny. Another significant concern for the founders was the ability of the citizens to resist a tyrannical government. Without munitions, without organization, without the ability to speak freely, how can you really tell the people in charge that they're not in charge of you anymore? It's an interesting thought. And then, of course, a very small portion of this is the ability to feed your family. So we talked about that during the discussion of the French Revolution.
Takes a back seat. It's not really that important.
Well, it's not important today because none of us know where our food comes from and we don't actually kill it. As modern people, we think of it as a secondary, very small portion of it, or you're like, yeah, who really hunts deer anymore? But it is valid and it is interesting, especially if we consider these dystopic ideas that everything could collapse and we'd have no choice but to fight for ourselves. That was the end. I can't believe I kept it to 4 pages. I'm so proud of myself.
I'm very proud of yourself.
But yeah, I really fucking hate Aaron Burr. But I hate Andrew Jackson more, and we'll get into that on Andrew Jackson's time.
Gosh, I can't wait.
The sum of Burr's life is just a coward waiting for his moment to shine. So when we talk about the songs in Hamilton, I think Wait For It is a very good song because he says, I'm lying in wait. Like, I'm not waiting for my chance. I'm just preparing. Mm-hmm. And he never prepares and he never gets there and he's never actualized. And that makes me really happy because I do not want a monarchy. Right. I do not want another king. I do not want to be subject to one person's tyrannical rule of my life. And that's why I stay here, because it is very tempting to flee and go to Canada.
Is it time for my fun fact?
It is fun. It's fun time.
Fun time. Okay, so obviously we've kind of touched on this. One thing everyone knows about Aaron Burr is he shot and killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel. Now, here's my interesting fact about this. Some historians think that Burr may not have meant to kill Hamilton. So Joseph J. Ellis, for example, argues Burr did not have much to gain from actually killing Hamilton and likely just meant to wound him. He did hit him near his hip, which is where most duelists aim if they're trying to superficially wound their opponents. What he didn't anticipate, Ellis suggests, is that his shot would ricochet off of Hamilton's ribs, hitting his vital organs. His reported shock and surprise after hitting his mark strengthens this case. So even though no one will ever actually know Burr's true intentions on that day, if Ellis is correct, Burr's most infamous act may have just been a big tragic mistake.
I definitely think it was a mistake because I think he knew what he had to lose by killing Hamilton. I think he did not want to kill him. He wanted the argument to end between the two of them and for Hamilton to really know that he wasn't playing any games. But by killing him, I mean, he should have shot wide. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think that's maybe where some of your intrusive thoughts took over
Mhm.
in this case, because Burr, like, they had been back and forth, like, I kind of want to say frenemies, but not really. Like, I think Hamilton may have thought of Burr more as a frenemy, but then Burr was just like, no, I don't like you.
No, I think they both hated each other, but I think I don't think there's a modern context for a Burr and Hamilton debate. Like, I think
When I say frenemies, as far as Hamilton's context, I'm thinking more of Hamilton, like they talk about it in the musical. He could write and he could write and write and write and write. And I think he enjoyed maybe some of the verbal and written gymnastics that he got to do because of arguing with
Yeah.
him. So maybe like the person he loved to hate is
yeah,
a better
yeah,
term.
yeah. Hamilton definitely was always out for a good fight.
Right. So, okay. So that's just interesting food for thought. And so we did touch briefly on Burr's first wife, Theodosia. They married on July 2nd, 1782. And they had a lot in common, which, based on what you've learned about Aaron Burr so far, would you have guessed that he may have actually been a little bit of a feminist? Okay, the average person, not Louise, because she only knows
like
all the
feminists for
background.
the time. Feminists for the time. I think a feminist at that point in time was women should be allowed to own property, women should be allowed to vote. I could
Yes, so
understand.
maybe not today's definition of
Yeah,
feminist,
yeah.
but so basically one of the things that Theodosia and Aaron had in common was their deep admiration for a feminist philosopher named Mary Wollstonecraft. They hung her portrait on their mantle, which is that admiration or is that a little creepy stalkerish? But whatever, that's a whole other.
TVs. We've talked about this
That's
before.
true.
What was the notion?
Right. So Wollstonecraft's best known work was her 1972 manifesto, A Vindication on the Rights of Women. And this was considered a watershed document in the history of feminism. It basically argues that members of both sexes deserve the same fundamental rights and denounces the educational systems of its era for failing to provide women with the opportunities afforded to men. In 1793, Burr described Wollstonecraft's essay as a work of genius. Obviously, his peers disregarded it. But basically, they kept with this philosophy, making sure that their daughter, also named Theodosia, which created some confusion for me when I was originally reading Louise's notes, because I was like, wait, she talks about their weird father-daughter relationship. I'm like, wasn't Theodosia his wife?
So also naming it, I don't love naming your kid after yourself. I'm sorry for everyone who's going to be offended by that. It is just kind of self-serving to me, and like,
right.
It's extra weird because we don't usually do it with girls.
So there's actually a whole, if you're interested, there's a Tom Segura Netflix special where he has a whole section about this, about how having a child is the most selfish act, not the most selfless. The reason this is fresh in my mind is because my husband and I just happened to watch it again yesterday, which is weird because it's totally an accident. But he was basically like, no, you've created this person and like half of this person is a miniature version of you. And so you're just like, oh my gosh, I'd do anything for this person because you do anything for yourself. So anyway, on the one hand, could it have been slightly progressive for them to name their daughter after her mom as opposed to typically sons being named after their fathers? But at the same time, they were just weird. Let's just
weird.
So
they
anyway,
were very strange.
Daughter Theodosia did receive a top-notch education, the kind that was normally reserved for boys and men of this time period. So anyway, interesting to think of one of Burr's slightly redeeming qualities is that he gave a shit about his daughter. Okay, new fun fact. Burr played a key role in Tennessee's admission to the United States. The territorial governor at that time spearheaded a constitutional convention at the voters' behest. The Constitution was drafted in Knoxville and presented to both chambers of Congress. The House's Democratic-Republican majority devoted to grant Tennessee statehood. The Senate's Federalist majority stalled the bill's progress, and gridlock ensued. As a manager of the bipartisan Senate committee that had been created to deal with this problem, Burr rallied most of his colleagues to Tennessee's cause. In the end, the committee and the full body came out in favor of the territory's bid, and Tennessee became the 16th state on June 1st, 1796. So
that is fascinating.
Tennesseans, you have him to thank for becoming a state when you did.
Yeah.
This next little tidbit is one of the most interesting things that I found while I was doing some research. So Burr founded the company that later became, any guesses?
I'm not going to guess.
She doesn't get to guess because she read it.
I can guess for dramatic effect.
Right.
Would you like?
No. JP Morgan Chase and Company. So how did this happen? What the hell?
What the hell?
So shortly after the Revolutionary War wrapped up, Burr established himself as one of New York City's most in-demand lawyers. So this kind of harkens back to, we need to decide or determine through further research, was he actually a lawyer yet? When did he actually pass the bar?
I'm wrong. I think you're right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he was super shiesty and practicing as a lawyer when he hadn't passed the bar yet. And there's no Google. How are you going to check that in 1796? But anyway, so he was not only one of the most in-demand lawyers in New York City, but one of its most prominent Democratic Republicans. For many years, his party found itself at a major disadvantage, but in the early 1790s, when all the city's banks were run by rich Federalists, none of these establishments would lend money to Democratic Republicans. So in 1798, Burr hatched a plot, like you do, to get around this. He took advantage of a recent yellow fever epidemic and asked the Federalist-controlled state legislature to give him a charter for what he called the Manhattan Company, a private organization that would provide New Yorkers with clean water. One of the most passionate supporters of Burr's plan, I know you have comments about this, was Mr. Federalist himself, Alexander Hamilton, though he would soon regret coming to his rival's aid. In 1799, the legislature gave Burr the charter, which included a clause that allowed the Manhattan Company to employ surplus capital in any moneyed transactions or operations inconsistent with the Constitution and laws of the state or of the United States. So this was a major loophole, and Burr turned the Manhattan Company into a Democratic Republican bank. It barely delivered water at all, although to keep the charter, a bank employee would ceremoniously pump water until 1923. It's like the same old decrepit guy, like the knight from Indiana Jones that's just stuck in this tomb, just slowly pumping water for the rest of his life. So Hamilton, along with the entire New York legislature, had been duped into helping Burr break the Federalist monopoly on banking in the city. In an ongoing effort to profit off of distributing drinking water throughout New York City, they dug a well into a contaminated groundwater and accidentally spread cholera to 1/3 of the city in 1832. This was not an innocent mistake either. In 1810, a former director admitted the Manhattan Company knew the water they were putting out was quite literally crappy, full of New York City residents' own evacuations, as well as that of their horses, cows, dogs, cats, and other putrid liquids so plentifully.
Oh my. Oh my.
Gross. Okay, so even despite this very interesting history, the Manhattan Company has since evolved into JP Morgan Chase and Company, which is one of the largest banking institutions in the world, and it now owns the pistols that were used in the Burr-Hamilton duel.
Oh, wow. So they know who they are.
Apparently they do. Does anyone else? Now you do.
Oh,
You're welcome.
now we do.
So yeah, think about that. I will neither confirm nor deny that I am a client of said banking company. However, just think about that.
And I think, when we get into the argument of are Republicans and Democrats different sides of the same coin, it started here. Federalists and Democratic, what were they? Democratic Republicans at the time. Both wanted to look out for what they thought was right. They both wanted to look out for themselves above all. And the divide here, I think what makes us look back on it as like, we look at the Federalists as kind of better or something, I don't know, is that it then became the Democratic Party, and then, the Southern Democratic Party became the Republican Party. And the divide here is slavery at this point, is who believes in slavery and who believes in no slavery. But at that point, the argument is, did the Federalists want to abolish slavery for human rights or for economic development? So that's where I'm stuck on, like, they're all awful. Nothing's okay.
I mean, not much about that has changed in politics, right?
Yeah.
Everybody sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting things to think about. So upon returning to the U.S. in 1812, after the whole Burr conspiracy debacle, which is what they named this whole he wants to start his own kingdom business, Burr pulled a real scumbag move and started using his mother's maiden name, Edwards, to dodge his many creditors.
I definitely didn't know that. That's fascinating.
So he also used an alias that got him on the ship to get him back home from the UK, Mr. Adolphus Arnott.
Because he really would not have been welcomed otherwise.
And sadly for the rest of us, but fortunately for Burr, the War of 1812 was raging. So he was soon able to stop living a lie and instead just fade into relative obscurity. But that's not really true. I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. Anyway, back to Burr's daughter, not wife, Theodosia Burr Alston, the only one of his children to survive childhood. So, I mean, that's kind of sad to think about and maybe helps explain a tiny bit about why
he was so
obsessed with her. Yeah. I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm just saying that could be part of it.
It was said that she remarkably favored his wife. Like she looked like mom a lot.
Okay.
Just makes it creepy. But go on.
Creepy.
Yep. Sorry.
The only politician that has rumors about it. Okay, I'm not gonna go down that road. Anyway, she disappeared at sea at age 29. So the whole schooner that she was on, it was named the Patriot, mysteriously vanished without a trace. With her was a whole trunk of family manuscripts, as well. With her was a whole trunk of family manuscripts, which means that Burr also lost part of his family's past and future all at once. No one knows what happened to the Patriot, but one of the many upsetting theories is that pirates wrecked it and made the surviving passengers walk the plank.
Yeah, and there's also some belief that didn't happen at all and that she survived and that she just wanted to go live with her dad without anybody knowing and without her husband following her.
Oh.
So we can look at it a couple different ways.
Maybe she disappeared because she wanted to get away from her dad, but whatever.
No, she was part of it.
It was a two-way weird relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. All right. So Burr's first wife, Theodosia, passed away in 1794. He then later married Eliza Jumel in 1833. Let me point out, he was 77 at the time.
Oh, really?
Yes. She was 19 years his junior, which when I first started reading this, I was like, oh my God, please don't tell me she's 19 years old. But no.
19 years his junior. No. That's fair. Okay. Yes.
So she's no spring chicken, especially for these times. She also happened to be a former prostitute, which is interesting. But at the time, she was one of the richest women in America.
Well, that work does be paying.
I don't think that's why she was the richest woman in America. So she was previously married. Her husband died only 8 months prior. Did you read this section?
No.
Guess how he died?
Oh, run over by a horse.
No.
Drank horse poop water.
Ew. No.
Well, they were
right. I know.
New York. Was made to walk the plank.
No.
Okay. I give up.
He fell on a pitchfork.
Did he though?
I mean,
did he though?
She does, like, the stuff that
I don't know.
Does seem to think that she was upset about it. Now, again, could that be her being a really good actor?
But
like,
she got married 6 months later.
When you go to the strip club, the stripper doesn't really want to date you. She's trying to get her to...
Did you write this section yourself, or did you copy paste this?
A little of both.
I need everyone to know that the next sentence. Mel was filthy rich and obviously vulnerable while mourning her now perforated beau.
Okay, no, I did not write that.
Oh, I don't write that. Okay.
No, that. Yeah. But I had to leave it in because it's amazing. Okay, so Burr at this point, still battling debt, swept in, married Jumel for financial gain as much as anything else. The marriage only lasted for 3 years, and Burr did indeed try to liquidate Jumel's fortune during that short stretch. Jumel eventually accused Burr of adultery. He hadn't done that in the past at all, had he? And of trying to liquidate her fortune, ended up suing him for divorce. So good for her.
All right.
Guess who her attorney was for her divorce?
Oh, golly. You're going to tell me somebody exciting, and I can't think of another attorney at this point in time.
Alexander Hamilton Jr. Yes.
Congrats,
the
Junior.
son of the man that Aaron Burr shot in 1804 represented his estranged second wife in a highly publicized divorce case that was derided by haughty Whig newspapers.
Oh, I love it. I'm so proud.
Okay. Burr ended up dying. I mean, we don't really care. But on September 14th, 1836, from a debilitating stroke. That was the same day his divorce was made final.
Oh,
Double whammy.
He was old as hell though. So like
80. He was 80 years old when he died in 1836. Like, didn't people live to like 35 and then just die?
Eliza Hamilton lived to be like 92.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, and Angelica did as well. But anyways, yeah.
Maybe, I mean, even though Alexander Hamilton wasn't the best husband, but maybe Eliza got a little bit of a boost that her son was the one that represented his soon-to-be ex-wife.
I bet. I bet
yes.
she was all over that. That's great.
Oh, karma is beautiful. Sometimes she takes her time, but she will get you.
She will get you.
Okay. Martin Van Buren was rumored to be Burr's illegitimate son.
So
this is a rumor, guys.
Hold on, let me. Okay, so fun fact about Martin Van Buren. He is the only president, I think this is right. I did not Google this because this is not a Martin Van Buren, but he's the only president that is not linked in some way to the royal English family.
Oh.
Yeah, fascinating. Right?
That is fascinating.
I know, right?
Man, I'm supposed to be bringing the interesting facts.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
sorry.
no.
Yours are great. These are great.
Love it. So anyway, this is just kind of a random thing I found. The site that I looked at said they shared a knack for growing sideburns, but no shared genes. So this was obviously totally debunked, but it's still kind of funny. This is also an uncomfortably weird thing that I found. There is a volume of Aaron Burr erotica. Now, you would think, because the internet is a strange, interesting, sometimes frightening place, that this would be a recent thing. No. This was published in 1861.
He was known to be quite handsome.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to have a lot of other qualities.
Him and Hamilton were known for being very sexy at the time.
So Burr's enemies, kind of echoing off of Louise here, including Hamilton, were known to accuse him of rampant womanizing. These rumors help explain what is quite possibly the strangest work of American literature. This 1861 title, called The Amorous Intrigues and Adventures of Aaron Burr.
Oh my God, I love it.
Was presented as a novelized biography. The book, strangely, the author is unknown.
It was actually Hamilton. I'm just being for real.
Maybe.
This bitch didn't stop writing.
I mean,
including erotic fiction.
Including like decades after his death.
Oh, like he would have written it before and they just published it. You know, Eliza.
True.
Eliza found thousands of pages.
That's
of
true.
But go on. Yes,
maybe Eliza did it.
Maybe Eliza did a lot of it. Okay, wait, that's an episode for another.
Yep. Okay. So anyway, according to my source, the author was unknown, and it retells everything from Burr's birth in 1756 to his death 80 years later, but also includes lurid descriptions of fictitious sexual conquests in several different states, with women constantly throwing themselves at our protagonist. Again, knowing what we know now.
Yeah, rough.
So anyway, so my last contribution, looking at any mentions of Burr in pop culture, which obviously we all know Hamilton. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this with any disdain because it is a magnificent play, but slightly oversaturated at the moment. But that's fine. Mm-hmm.
Great portrayal.
Yes. Other portrayals include Connor Dillon in Hamilton Building America in 2017 and a role in the TV movie Duel, Hamilton versus Burr in 2004. Mm-hmm. There is a historical documentary episode about Hamilton and Burr called The Patriots, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, Deadly Division. Little known interesting fact, there is an actor / visual effect person / animator in Hollywood today named Aaron Burr. So I found this by accident because I was researching and it was like Aaron Burr on IMDb. I was like, okay, does this link to like Leslie Odom being Aaron Burr in the musical? But no, so that's interesting. And one of the things that he has credited to him is The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, a VeggieTales movie, 2008. And then perhaps my favorite reference to Aaron Burr, if you can't have a favorite, is the 1993 Got Milk commercial.
Yes, which I distinctly remember that.
Yes, and I have always loved this commercial. I've always thought it was funny. So then when the musical Hamilton came out, I was like, oh my God, I actually know who this is. So that is the commercial where a trivia buff is unable to answer a radio question, who shot Alexander Hamilton, because his mouth is full of peanut butter and he has no milk to wash it down. So honestly, every time I hear the name Aaron Burr, I still go, That wraps up my interesting and fun facts about Aaron Burr.
It's beautiful. How has your bowl come along?
Honestly, not too bad.
Is that a ship?
It is. Oh, so I've got a ship with some clouds. I kind of did originally just trying to drum up some inspiration. I've got maybe like some waving grains going on over here with some clouds. And then a from memory rendition upside down.
Oh my stars, it's beautiful.
Of the United States.
Of the United States.
So I will add some more to this at some point. But I just have to say, like, working upside down is interestingly creative. Fun. Like it's harder, but it's actually kind of fun.
It does feel good, doesn't it?
You think more about what you're doing.
I actually think less. I'm just like, oh, it's going to look like crap because it's upside down, so who cares? And then I'm just like free from all judgment of myself. I mean, it looks amazing. It looks so good.
Like I am no Picasso or anything, although I guess you could call this a Picasso. It has to resemble what you're doing.
I'm going to spring something on you, just like I sprung our project. Do you think we should auction these off to benefit Fueled for School?
Sure.
Yeah. So Fueled for School is a Hamilton County food assistance relief for children in Hamilton County schools. And they were started by the amazing Christina Trusty, who used to be a kindergarten teacher. She's still a teacher? I don't know. We'll have to look that up. But shout out Miss Trusty. And they send food home with kids. So we'll put these up on, I guess, our website. We'll put them up somewhere and you can buy them. We'll put them on Insta. And you can buy them once they've been glazed.
And what do you think about last week's project? Do we want to put those up too?
Yeah, as soon as I finish it. Who do we feel like we have
an audience for that?
No, like somewhere we could donate the money to. Do we want to donate the money or should we make money off this podcast?
I mean, eventually making money is the dream, but right now, I mean, let's keep it a tax write-off.
All right. So if you want to buy our Sheena Sway pieces, those will also be up. Let's just go ahead and call them both for Fueled for School.
Yeah.
Let's call it a day. In light of SNAP being up in the air and in light of children not deserving to go hungry because adults can't figure their shit out.
This is just like,
we will seriously send our monies to Fueled for School.
I feel like every day I'm saying something else about like, is this actually the world that we're living in?
Yeah, I can.
And it's just absolutely
insane. What has given you hope this week?
Hope this week. I mean, the people that keep showing up to protest. It's awe-inspiring. We do our part where we can, but the people that just another shout out. I don't even know if she's going to listen to the podcast, but my mother-in-law lives in a very small town in Indiana, and this whole time she's been thinking that she was one of the only ones that had some sanity in that area, and she has been organizing her own protests. A couple weeks ago for the No King protest, they doubled their
that's awesome.
People that showed up. So,
and even if it's 4 to 8, that's awesome. If it's
it went from like
10,000 to 20,000 is amazing.
20 to 30 to 70 to 80 people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And for a small town, like that is so amazing.
It just takes courage.
Yes,
it does. Courage to say we're not going to do this anymore. Yeah.
So shout out to her. Shout out to all the people that are still standing up right now in this horrible timeline that we're living in.
Yeah, and I think you heard me listening to him when you walked in the door. Billy Simmons Jr. is a breakout indie artist who's doing indie folk, like kind of reviving folk for me.
Okay.
And he's doing politically motivated songs, things like We Are Great Again and The Bottom Has a Basement and We the People. And you should definitely give him a listen on Spotify. I'm working to get him to come out here. I told him if he ever does an indie what is it called when artists play music in front of people? An indie tour concert. So we can find him somewhere to play because he's fantastic. And it's giving me hope that like we're not all lost. So keep making your art, keep being beautiful, and check us out on Instagram, on our blog,
Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
And our Instagram is Throwing Shade and Clay. Our YouTube is Throwing Shade and Clay. And our blog is hosted on kilncreations.net.
Guys, this has been so fun.
It has been great. I love learning about obscure figures in history that we can eat together. Should we talk about what's coming next week? Is Anne Boleyn next week? Or are we sure for sure?
I'll do whatever you want, baby.
All right. Next week, Anne Boleyn and the lies we like to tell about her.
Thank you for tuning in to Throwing Shade and Clay. Your hosts are Karen, manager of squirrels, and Louise, pot dealer extraordinaire. Produced by Louise. Researched by Karen and Louise. We are not professional historians, so don't cite us for your dissertation.